Well, rushing around with your breakfast on a very busy morning could hike your stress level rather. There can be calming moments in the kitchen, and cooking instructor Marisa Mariella joins us with more. Good morning.
Good morning, Annette. How are you today?
I'm doing very, very well. So many reasons that cooking and baking are good for our mental health.
Well, all you have to do is ask anyone who loves cooking and baking, and they'll for sure tell you how much they enjoy not just the rewarding effects of putting out food, but the actual act of cooking and baking, the chopping, the cutting, the assembling together, the herbs and spices. So people will tell you how much they love it and the calming effect it has on them. It's really the people who maybe see cooking and baking as a chore. That's really the group that we have to address. So for those people, you have to wonder, what is it about cooking and baking that turns them off? And, sometimes people will talk about being way too busy in their life and they just don't have time to put food together. People maybe talk about the expense of it, that it's cheaper to just pick up a takeout or some prepackaged food. Some people will have this stress about coming into the kitchen, feeling that, they're doomed. Everything they're going to do is going to burn. No one's going to like it. It's going to be a waste of time. And for the people who maybe, live on their own, sometimes they'll say, why bother? I don't really want to spend all that time and effort in the kitchen. And really what we need to do is address how stepping into the kitchen, leaning into those feelings can really help you, not just physically, but also mentally.
I find if you're doing things like chopping vegetables or doing things, you're not thinking about anything else, right? You're just focusing on that. And that kind of takes,
right.
if things are bothering you. And there's also that tactile, like if you're kneading dough or something like that, you're using your hands, you're getting right in there.
Well, if you take a look at the spread that I have here, you bring up the dough aspect, and certainly cooking and baking is a wonderful way to excite all your sensory perceptions. So I make pizza dough, so I keep it handy in the fridge, and then it's ready to go. And what a great way really to involve the kids. My mom always had me into kids, in the kitchen. I have to say, every time I work with dough, it brings me back to my childhood. And we know that cooking and baking has that nostalgic effect, which also boosts self-esteem. So we have here a soup. You mentioned the cutting and the chopping. And so that's almost like a meditative practice in doing that. Being mindful of the food that we have, and not just appreciate the food that we have in our fridge, but take a look at the journey that item took to land in your fridge and into your kitchen. We know too that cooking and baking, especially if you share with your family and friends, really does bring that sense of altruism. It gives you that sense that you're helping others. And really, for the people who are a little bit worried about stepping into the kitchen, some online courses, I'm offering some online courses to really address those concerns, to guide people step by step. If you rely too heavily on fast food, on takeout, or the prepackaged food, we know that that is ultra processed. So you might be filling your tummy, but really you're starving your brain, because your brain requires so many nutrients that are associated with wholesome homemade cooking.
And so I think too, you're talking about nostalgia and working with your mom. I think sometimes, like, I'll make something and then I'll come back into the kitchen and I'm like, oh, my kitchen smells like my grandma's kitchen, right? And it's happy memories.
And it's that nostalgia that can bring people into the kitchen and maybe start off with a recipe that, maybe was handed down from their mom or their grandparents. Or, sometimes you're in a bakery, right? And that memory will be evoked by that aroma. And so, take that home with you and find some recipes that can really just help you step by step. That negative thinking that goes in your head, oh, I can't do it, it's too hard.
Get it out of the kitchen.
Exactly, right. You know, you have to really confront that
Right.
and ask yourself, well, what could go wrong? You know, Annette, I don't know about you, but, you know, I've burned things. You know, I've had
I've
cakes
done
that
that.
don't turn out.
I've done that.
Exactly. So what do? You have to problem solve.
Yes.
And so that's another benefit, right?
Okay, Marisa, you've got lots and lots of benefits. We've run out of time, but we're going to get the link up at CHH because you do offer the cooking classes and all kinds of ways that food can help our mental health. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, such a pleasure. Bye, everyone.